my God, this is so amazing. You guys are like my favorite. You're so authentic. You're so
thank you.
real.
Thank you, baby. It's so lovely to see you. Honestly, you are
I'm in
a
the
complete
sunshine.
joy.
Let me show you. Let me see. Let me see. Can you see that view from my house?
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous.
That's what I'm looking at. See, I got my red cup.
I'm with
As long
you.
as you've got your
I got my. It's all about what's in the red cup. We got our cups. All right. I gotta keep my. I got kids. I gotta keep mine in the red cup.
So how have you been on the lockdown, baby?
Well, I was going so much since the show that
Yeah,
I actually really appreciate the lockdown because it just
yeah,
made me be still.
yeah,
And I have been going since May of 2018, which is 2 years. My daughter got the diagnosis with the brain tumor,
yeah,
so my life was really like it was just really intense.
yeah,
Mhm.
And I turned into a super mom
yeah,
because it's my teenage daughter who was like only 15 at the time, and I had to be so strong for
yeah,
her. But you know what? My body needed this rest.
Mm.
My mind needed this.
yeah. But for you personally, Janice, I think what you did is you had to make a real choice. You had to move. You had to stop and say, look, I've got a personal thing that I need to deal with here, plus earning a living. That's the thing, isn't it? You're having to gig, having to do shows, having to do events,
Yeah,
and
and I
also,
had a yeah. I mean, I beat my feet. I hustled. I
yeah,
worked. I did shows. I kept going and going. And then life just has a way of making you stop, whether it's a pandemic or whether it's a health emergency where I had to have a major surgery in October, end of October, right after my last gig.
Oh
Thank
wow,
God I got my two daughters. Yeah.
gosh,
So
yeah. Thing to go through.
so they thought it was
oh
cancer.
my goodness.
I went through that all quietly.
Well, we said this. I went through another very, very close, horrible thing, didn't I, Crystal? And I never put anything on Facebook. I never put anything on social
Yeah,
media. I dealt with it, had the operation. I got the all clear. It's all good, and we carry on, don't we? That's what
and
we
you
do, Janet.
carry on. Yeah,
That's
because a
what we
lot of
do.
times you need all your strength for yourself.
Uh,
I love social media. It's a great way to connect. But when
yeah,
you're really going through real life, like
yeah,
real life altering health emergencies, need surgeries,
yeah,
possible
Mhm.
cancer diagnosis, you got to do it privately and as strong. And you have to have your inner circle. Your inner world has to be sacred. It has to
yeah,
be cohesive. It has to be strong, because the
yeah,
hardest thing
yeah,
about being in the public eye is when you go through some real shit privately.
yeah.
Mhm.
And not everybody, and all it takes is that one internet troll asshole to
Oh,
just set you off. You
yeah.
Oh,
don't need that.
We were very lucky. I mean, me and Crystal were very lucky because within the X Factor journey, we had each other. So I always had that moment where I could turn and look at Crystal and go, this is
Thank
madness. This is
thank
silly.
God.
This is silly reality
Oh, it's a
show.
mind. It's a mind fuck. I'm sorry, bad
They,
language.
they,
Don't use
but
that
they,
language, kids. Out, because see, I came up in the music industry
yeah,
when you just had to have talent, be at the right place at the right time, and when there
absolutely.
was that moment for you to shine, you shine. And I mean, my first tour was with New Kids on the Block. Okay,
wow.
and the big famous, yeah, the big famous producer Maurice Starr, who discovered New Edition, New Kids on the Block. He saw me, and I was visiting my god brother, who was the musical director for New Kids on the Block on tour. And he said, "Who's that? Who's that? Who's that young girl that just came in the studio? Tell her to come up here." And so I went up there. I was 20, and he was like, "Can you sing? I like your look." And I was like, "Yeah, and I sang a song while this very breezy looking old man looked at me. I felt like a fish in a time, and I wasn't worried because I knew everybody was downstairs, but I was upstairs by myself in a room
Yeah.
with a
Mm.
big, greasy, and
Ah.
I sang, but he was a star maker. And I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
singing, and I remember him putting me in a group that was the background singer for the opening act on the New Kids on the Block summer tour. It was 1990. And I learned early on, very early on, how I'm supposed to be treated and how
Yeah.
things are supposed to be run.
Um, yeah, I think one of the things that, well, a couple of things have come from the X Factor. Obviously, we got to know you a little bit better, and it was
Oh,
so lovely to actually see you from such a seasoned pro. And I guess another thing, when you were on that television and you were doing those performances, your sets were unbelievable.
yeah, they spent a lot of money on me. I guess I got
They did. They did.
Stunning. So I guess like what we all want to know now is we know you, I'm a Dreamer, such a big anthem. Have you got any more club classics in the pipeline that you've been working on while we've been
I
locked down?
actually listen. I actually just did a teaser video. I edited it myself. I'm sure we'll shoot a real video. But there's a UK DJ from the drum and bass world that I just did a record with. Oh my God. Let me just tell you guys. It's called Devotion.
Yeah.
And it is, I've never done drum and bass in my life. That
Yeah.
whole world is not my world. But he came to me and sent me the track, and I was like, hey, that track is fire. And so it's like two different people from two different worlds coming
Yeah.
together, and
Amazing.
it's so sick. I really hope I can post the teaser video sometime in the next couple of days. But that's like, I've taken my time because that was a lot of exposure, especially for someone who already had a hit, already
Yeah.
has notoriety,
Yeah.
to come back in a new generation in this new form of instant notoriety stuff,
Yeah.
and to be going through such a personal heartache of my daughter being visually impaired and having a
Yeah.
brain tumor. That was like a lot psychologically. And I said, one of the things that I noticed the difference between me and, let's say, the other contestants, they have not stopped to have private life.
Yeah.
Some of them have, but many of them are just drenched in their social media, nonstop, nonstop, nonstop.
Yeah.
And my biggest advice to anyone doing this: you have to have your craft. You have
Yeah.
to work on your craft privately,
Yeah.
and you have to prepare things that sometimes taking your time is always the best. So when
Mhm.
you arrive like royalty. You arrive like a star.
Yeah.
Stars just don't be here every day in your face, in your face, in your face. Stars
No.
show up, they shine, and then they go away to work more on the next thing they're going to offer you. Does that make
Hmm.
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So
I think.
I struggle with social media sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, I'm getting ready to go for a bike ride. You see, I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna try and ride to the beach. I'm gonna see how I do, but I live in such a beautiful city, and I'm like, I want to ride my bike more. I have time. Before, when last year I was touring so much in 2019, and it was great. I was on tour with Ministry of Sound Orchestra, 50-piece orchestra, and a lot of people tried to work with me, but their intentions were wrong. See, that's the thing. Some people out here, they inbox me and they're just trying to jump on a bandwagon. I don't do bandwagons, okay?
Yeah.
That's why I love you. I love you both so much, because we've stayed in touch in our own unique way,
Yeah.
and it's genuine. I
So
like
you,
authenticity. I
well,
do.
you've got to have it. You've got to have it. And like I've been hearing little birds saying that you're maybe changing your sound up a little bit, maybe in the
Well,
future.
here's the thing. Little
Oh.
birds are
Oh.
chirping. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm a songwriter. And there's a whole musical journey that people in the UK are not aware of. I've written over 37 singles. Many of them were hits in Belgium, Australia, uh, Japan, Italy, and I've written hits for other people. 37 of them are for other people. But then I just had a big hit in Italy called There Must Be Love with David Morales, legendary David Morales. So Dreamer will always be Dreamer, you know, and that was 25 years ago. But I've gone through a lot of life since Dreamer. And a lot of life, it's the life I go through that comes through the music that I write. Saturday night, somewhere in the world, and makes people happy.
Oh,
I'm at peace with that.
I think
on Saturday night, somewhere in the world, somebody is dancing to. If it's not Dreamer, it's Earthbeat. If it's not Earthbeat, it's There Must Be Love. If it's not There Must Be Love, it's Every Breath. That's a record I did with John Delbeck. If it's not Every Breath, it's I've got tons of songs, and even Children. Children was massive in Manchester. You think anybody ever called me to come sing that? It was so massive in Manchester. I was like, wow. And Sweetest Day of May, Joe T. Vanelli, he took all the notoriety, but it was my song and my voice. So I've dedicated my life to the dance floor. I've dedicated, and this garage and drum and bass will probably be my last dance record. Maybe I got one more in me. I want to stand. I want to put on a pretty dress, and I want to sing next to the piano, because that's a side of me that I really need to show, because that's kind of who I am before the dance floor stole me.
The dance floor stole you. I love it.
I come from the world. I love Shirley Bassey. I love Nina Simone. I love Celine Dion, and I was writing those kinds of records before I even wrote a dance record, and it's really who I am. I love piano. I love to dress and look pretty. So I want to do that. At this age in my life, I'm not sure if I want to run around, with 135 BPMs going. This is another thing. A lot of people don't realize I was Tina Turner's opening act on her farewell tour, and she was 63. Wow. She was 63, and I was 30 at the time. And I remember standing there watching my idol rip and run, doing her thing. And I said to myself, I'm gonna be 53. I know I don't look it. Everyone's like, oh my God.
I know.
But I'm gonna be 53, and I wanna kind of go in the path that works for my health. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm working on a documentary, which I want you both to do an interview for it, please. I would love to have you in it.
Cool.
So it's a work in progress, but I'm telling my story because I think it's a really inspirational one, for me to show back up at 50 years old and say, hey, I think the world needs to know who I am. Let me just see what this feels like. They stay in your life for a reason. There's seasons, reasons, lifetime. And I just really hope that you guys can just stay a part of my life, and we continue to keep pressing forward. I got so much love for you both.
We love you.